If you're an online coach looking to scale your fitness business, this is an absolute gem. Now, this is a video podcast I recorded a while ago with my previous mentors, Vince and Monte. We go through exactly what I was doing then when I was actively growing my fitness business to multiple six-figure months. Now, if you want to know exactly about how we did that and exactly how we're still doing that right now in 2023 and continuing to scale our fitness business, that's earned us a 2 Comma Club award for just this year so far, then what you want is free access to my 4C course. Now, the 4C course is the exact method we use with organic content to blow up our business. Now, what we do is we create content to create conversations, to create phone calls, to create clients. 4C method, very, very simple. If you want completely free access to this, hit the link below the video. Now check out the podcast.
All right, welcome back, friends, to the Vince Del Monte podcast. We'll start that over. We're here with a dear friend of mine, Charlie Johnson, all the way from the UK, and we were just chatting about what brought him here to Canada. So, Charlie, why don't you share with them who you are, what you do, what brought you here to Canada, and then we do want to drop some value for you guys. And Charlie's one of the top fit pros in the space. He's making waves. He's dominating. He's got a massive roster of clients. He's changing a lot of lives. So maybe he'll share some insights with you on how he's built a successful, very profitable business that's allowing him to travel quite a bit. And we'll dive into that. But yeah, Charlie, welcome, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, welcome to Canada, because everyone's super friendly. It's been an awesome welcome so far. So I'm originally from the UK, now currently live in the Middle East, now obviously here in Canada. I came to Canada to go on a ski trip. So landed in Vancouver and gone through Whistler, Jasper and Lake Louise. And the random fact we just mentioned in the previous start of this podcast is I'm actually a qualified ski instructor with the Canadian Ski Association, which probably no one ever would have thought. So that's the random fact of the day.
Do you have any other random facts that we should know?
No, I could talk about in public probably.
No. Okay, that's.
I'll save those for Nashville, so people come to Vince's event in Nashville.
There we go. So you're going to be in Nashville.
I will.
What are you looking forward to most?
Networking and meeting inspiring people, because if you go to an event like that, what happens is you meet one person and that one person can completely change your life. And this is actually an amazing story, not to blow any more smoke up Frank's backside, but I heard about Frank, for example, I've talked this way before, I've heard about Frank before on I think it was Craig Ballantyne's podcast, and I was like, who is this guy? I tried to find him on the internet, couldn't find him. And then I was like, a friend of mine invited me to go to Vince's event in Clearwater. I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go. Like, you never know what happens when you go to these things. And then Frank was there, and I got introduced to Frank. End up training with him when I went to Nashville to ClickFunnels, became great friends, texting like 5 minutes ago. And that's what happens when you put yourself outside your comfort zone and go to events and travel to the other side of the world, because you meet new people, opens your eyes to new experiences.
And I think specifically, he really expanded your vision.
Oh, 100%.
Like, what did you think back then was possible when you came to Clearwater? I mean, you're taking notes, you could tell you were absorbing it, but like, where was your head at then, not knowing what you know now?
I thought then I was at the top of my game of what I was doing and probably hit the ceiling of what could be done. And I pretty much like 10x from that already in 2 years or however long ago that was. And now I know that I can still 10x again, but it's just a different set of challenges that then come with that, which is some of the things we spoke about today.
Absolutely. What were some of the challenges back then that you were facing?
So this is one of the things we also do with the live podcast talking about now. It's in regards to people say they don't have enough time, and it comes down to being very efficient with what you do. So in terms of when it comes to making content, managing your clients, managing your team members, and this all comes down to actually managing you as an individual and having a structure and routine. Like something I just asked you, if you've got a large amount of books in here, I was like, do you read a lot, I presume? Like, yeah, I do. I read 10 pages every single day. But you break that up into small bite-sized chunks so it's then manageable. Whereas I think too many people get overwhelmed, in particular at the beginning, because as a business owner, you have to wear multiple hats, and that almost then scares people. And I think people then need to realize that that breaking things down into like Monday I do podcasts, Tuesday I do YouTube, Wednesday I do Instagram, something like that in terms of content makes things more manageable.
Awesome. Somebody wants to know if you're open to it. Where was revenue, business at? That was, I guess, 3 years ago.
So I think I was doing about £30,000 a month. So I think that's about 45,000 US.
And that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that would be content with 30, 40,000. But What was it about, wanting to go further? Because obviously $30,000-$40,000 a month, like your needs are covered.
It's very much a progressive mindset that I'm very much aware that almost as soon as you try and take your foot off the gas, everything can then go backwards very quickly. So I think I'm very much the mindset you're either moving forwards, you're moving backwards. So, and I enjoy the game of business and of fitness. It's like continual progression as well as like self-development of yourself as a business owner, as a person, as a leader, and then to have more impact on more people across the world.
What would you say to a beginner who's having a hard time structuring their day, doing daily content, doing the boring stuff, to be frank, that is necessary?
So the one thing I would suggest, and I picked this up when I used to work in the real estate industry, is I think about what are the key actions that are actually going to drive revenue and you making money. So when I worked in real estate, in terms of making sales or doing deals, and it's the same thing in terms of fitness. So if you're a fitness trainer, what's going to get you new leads and new prospects in terms of then potentially being able to earn revenue? Number one is obviously then going to be actually creating content and getting traffic, getting people to know you. That's probably the biggest factor most people need to think about, because particularly if you're new, there's a lot of other people on the internet who are making a lot of content, getting a lot of website traffic. I, for example, at the moment will post twice a day on Instagram, twice on LinkedIn across 15 profiles, post on my Facebook personal page, business page, email every day, YouTube short every day. If not, we do 4 full YouTube videos a week. Okay. And then there is something else, TikTok 2-3 times a day. So like I've already got a big following and established business, but I'm still pumping more content than like pretty much anyone else.
So you have at least about 9 different lead generation avenues. What's your advice at the start for someone who might find like, do I do all 9 at once, or do I double down on one before I add another?
There'd be 2 suggestions, I think, is make the content you like to make. So for example, I'm not great at writing. So for me, writing emails wouldn't have been the first thing I'd like to do. And also you not have a big email list. So I would double down on what you actually like to do at and what you're actually good at. So if you are really good at talking on camera and really good on camera like workouts, make Instagram reels, make YouTube videos. If you're not so good in front of camera, but you're really good at communication skills and you're very persuasive in the language you use, then maybe something like this, a podcast, would be a more powerful tool for you to have more impact on people.
So what's simple for you to do and what makes you look awesome?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they try and, I think it's with a lot of things, people try and improve areas they're weak rather than trying to create superpowers where they're strong.
Right.
Where there's no point being like balanced and being average across the board. You're better off having one thing that you're like one of the best in the world at, and then just double downing on that and just pushing that.
That's really good. Amazing. What about guys who just have struggled getting into the DM? Maybe shed some light on how powerful it is to have a team, and maybe before you have a team, how valuable it is. Like, where do you generate your business? Like, first of all, I don't think people understand, like, you can either run ads to get people to message you and you still have the challenges of warming those people up, or you just start conversations. Power of the DM, there's a lot of resistance from people to get in the DM and schedule calls from the DM with opportunities to close, which holds people back. Did you have any fears around that, or is there any resistance with that?
I think sometimes it's more of a social block, and even this is something I've started to do recently, or we would do, is that even we will just message people who follow me who look like interesting people, not even try and sell them, just to make conversation, just to be polite, because I think that goes a long way. And everything we are doing within a business to eventually try and sell something to someone is trying to start a conversation. So I think one of the key things people need to think about is always having a call to action everywhere. So even like at the end of all my YouTube videos, I try and have a call to action. At the end of all the podcasts, I have a call to action, because that one thing could be the one thing that gets someone to reach out to you.
That's great. So Charlie, you recently lost your Instagram account. How did you feel about that? Like, how did you bounce back? Entrepreneurship is full of highs and lows. You definitely, reached out for help right away to the group. For those that don't know, Charlie's a part of our 7-figure mastermind. And despite him being one of the most advanced students in our group, you probably ask more questions than even the beginners. So there's a lesson for you right there. One of the top dudes in our group is asking more questions than people that are brand spanking new. So maybe we can speak to that after, but I'd love to just hear, how did you manage? That would have been a huge blow, putting all this time and effort, especially when that's a primary source of revenue.
Yeah, I was going through a really bad 3 days with a lot of personal issues as well. So that was like when it rains, it pours, and I'll talk about that at some point.
You know, that's a country song from Luke Combs,
Really?
by the way.
So you play it for me natural.
We're gonna play that song for Charlie when he comes up on stage. When it rains, it pours. Luke Combs.
But in that regard, the first thing, I've almost been preparing for this moment for a long time, because you can't have all your eggs in your one basket. So about a year ago, I knew this was an issue that all of our lead generation was basically through Instagram. So I already started preparing for this sort of thing to happen, because I think you almost need to prepare for the worst sometimes. So fortunately, we built up our LinkedIn, was doing pretty well for us, and I would also build up a second Instagram page, which we weren't actually doing anything with at the time. So one of the things I always like to think about, I stole this from someone, is like, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So I tried to use this as an example of trying to force my hand and thinking, you have to like get this to work now. So what we actually started doing was running ads from my second Instagram account, which actually seemed to do pretty well. And we're still running those ads now, because it's still profitable, which is now an extra, like, it's like a lead gen thing we didn't even have beforehand. And now I have my Instagram account back, fortunately, thanks to the network of people that. And actually, it's an interesting story in terms of having a supportive community of people who follow you. So I put it on, I think, my Facebook pages and everywhere, trying to see if I knew anyone who could help me. I had like 3 people reach out who work for Facebook who really managed to help me out. Yeah.
There you go. So you stayed positive, you asked for help. And where did that spirit of being humble? I even remember in Clearwater, you know, you come across, you might rub someone, you know, the wrong way, because, you know, you used to wear the sparkles on the shirts like I did. You know, you're very well presented, but you're also very humble, and you're also very open to feedback. You're a student. I remember when we had the advanced day in Clearwater, you're asking lots of questions. Where did that come from? The spirit of teachability.
I think this is saying I like, is that a genius doesn't have great answers. He asks great questions. So I think that's always something I always try and think about, is like the key to success in things, right, is asking the right questions, and then trying to identify what's the biggest problem I have, what's the biggest bottleneck I have. And talking about the humble thing, if you ever want something to humble you, when you have something really bad happen, like my Instagram account was disabled, last year I had an issue with a payment gateway system went down, lost me like 20,000 a month.
I remember that.
Like, when you have these things happen to you, it automatically makes you humble. And I'm a lot more humble probably now than I was 2 years ago, because you have to learn to weather the storm. And I think you'll agree, within business, you're always waiting for like the next Chernobyl to happen. Like, something's going to happen, like, at some point.
70% of your day is waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say to somebody who's, you know, at the 30 to 50K a month mark, and their ego or their pride is getting the best of them? How do you continue to grow? And like you said at the start, your challenges are changing. You know, today we were just doing a little sharing of what we're doing with our team meetings and how we set up our scorecards and some infrastructure stuff and getting visibility on data. Very different things than what we maybe talked about 3 years ago around, you know, setting up marketing campaigns. Just maybe help somebody who's stuck at a certain level of income, and their pride or their ego, the pride being, I should be further along, and the ego, I already know this, that voice coming into their head. How do you manage that? How do you get through that?
So I think the big thing that I think all the time is I still have the feeling that I know nothing, because, like, in the reality of business, I'm a baby. I'm 32 years old. Like, I've got loads of time ahead of me, and loads of people way more advanced. Like, within the fitness niche, in certain aspects, I might be further ahead, but in the grand scheme of life, there's a lot more people who are more successful and bigger than me. And I think that's one thing a lot of people need to take perspective of, is not trying to be the big fish in a small pond. And I think one of the things that holds a lot of people back is their own arrogance, that they don't need help. And I always ask people's opinions or for feedback from anyone, really, because I think people will see things from a different point of view than you necessarily will. And you'll also a lot of the time have like confirmation bias. So because you've set up this, I don't know, video sales letter, you think it's amazing because you made it. But if you give it to someone with a fresh pair of eyes, they're like, this is terrible. Like, it's a waste of time.
Right.
And you need that criticism.
I love it. Some questions coming in here on ads for paid traffic. What's working best for you currently with paid on Facebook, Instagram versus shout outs? And let's talk about, when you feel somebody's even ready to ask about ads, what would you see as a short checklist that needs to be in check first, or else they're going to get tuned?
I think that most people shouldn't even go anywhere near ads. I think I pretty much got to 6 figures a month without doing any ads. I don't think you need to be doing that. I think you need to focus on organic traffic through various platforms, focus on scaling that out because it's hugely profitable, focus on doing outreach on those platforms. And then once you've got a big margin of profitability, that you are in the position where basically you can throw money at things to see if they work. And if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world and you'll still be able to do what you want. That, in my opinion, is when people should start doing it, because I was just looking after speaking with Vince when we've already implemented something that's going to make a big difference. Like I was thinking about, like, I've wasted so much money the last few months testing things like tens of thousands, but I think we now have a formula for something that could be hugely scalable and could make us 7 figures if we get this right. But I've had to be very patient and throw a lot of money at it, trying things that don't work. And you might try 10 different strategies, but if you get one that works and you can scale it, then you're off to the races, which is why I think most people need to be patient and not do this, because I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they try and outsource, for example, paid ads to someone. They don't actually understand it themselves. And if you don't fully understand something, you can't then delegate it to someone else, because you can't almost understand the language that they're talking about, like pixels, ROAS, click-through rate. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and you talked about having the margin for error, right? You have to have a high pain tolerance, right? If you don't have a pain tolerance and you understand that you're going to spend thousands on testing and optimizing, and then you have to make sure, you're keeping up with the algorithm, and then you got to make sure your data is getting tracked, and then you got to make sure that your data is correct. Like, it's a feat.
I'll give you an example. We just hired a really expensive tech team who are running all our tech stuff. And it turned out that our tracking load of our funnels wasn't right. We were running ads to. I did it for like 2 years.
How'd that feel?
I was like, that's great. So it was a double-edged sword. It was like, I've wasted loads of money. And I was like, at least all the money I'm spending on this tech team, at least to solve that problem. But that, again, is an example in terms of investing into other people and building your team,
right,
which is then the next set of challenges when you get to the next level, because you're like, I don't really want to have to pay this. I don't want to have to pay this, because I don't know if you agree. I find that within business, you go up a level and you plateau for a while, and you take a big jump up and you plateau for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like big steps rather than you don't go up like 10% gradually a month.
I think that's a fantastic perspective. I mean, where else, like in life, do you just keep going up, up, up? You know what I'm saying? Like in the gym, do you hit 500 on your deadlift and then you just go to 550? No, you have to stabilize 500 because things start to break, right? The body starts to break down. It's the same thing. Like, you can run a big promotion, but then you got to stabilize the delivery. You got to stabilize the customer support. You got to stabilize the quality of the product based on all this extra volume of feedback coming on. So it's a very healthy mindset to, 2 steps forward. I like to look at it, very much like how you transform the body. Like, when you're gaining, I remember one of my best coaches, when he got me up to 225, I'm like, okay, cool. Let's just go to 230. He's like, whoa, slow down, bro. Let's stabilize 225. Let's get you strong at 225, and then we'll go back up again. The same thing with coming down. I'm down to 206 this morning. I've lost 20 pounds. I love to say I'm just going to cruise right into 199, but I need to stabilize. I'm doing a lot of stuff to get here. I need to make this a new baseline. And I think in entrepreneurship, people don't appreciate that this is your livelihood you're building. Like, you don't want to just hit this level once. You want to make these baselines. How do you build this business in a way we're talking about being able to sell your business? I need to get my team to start thinking like me. And I was showing you this morning our marketing tactical meeting and the value of investing into my team members to run a certain meeting structure so that eventually one of my guys can manage the meeting and they see how I think, so I don't actually need to be there. That's going to be an evolution. That's a process. I can't, in order to maintain these higher income levels, I need to free myself up so I can do more live events and connect with bigger names and make higher quality content. But if I'm stuck in the operations, that'll never happen. So one of the big themes in Miami this past week is like, what's entrepreneurship? It's a constant buying back of your time. So you're constantly investing money to buy back time so you can focus on more leveraged activities. You can free up your time to learn about, crypto. You can free up your time to learn about real estate. But if I'm working in my business and I haven't maximized the revenue from, investing into my team, investing into that, I won't have the opportunity to actually get true freedom down the road. I think people just kind of forget this is a very long process.
I think one of the things that's really important to think about is I almost think about it it's like seasons of a business. It's like a spinning roulette wheel. So initially you're going to be thinking, okay, I need to generate shitloads of leads. You generate shitloads of leads. So then lead generation's sorted. Then you've got the problem of how do I then handle all these? How do I handle all these like sales calls coming through? How can I then deal with this problem because I can't take the volumes coming in? Okay, then you maybe build a team or you outsource it or something like that. Great. And then you've okay, I'm signing up all these clients. Now we've got too many clients. I can't coach them all. I need to get some coaches. And then the onboarding breaks because you've got too many clients coming through. And then you've suddenly got to manage all these teams.
Yeah.
And then it's like this never-ending revolving wheel of trying to fix either like lead gen, fulfillment of sales that keeps on spinning, that people just need to identify where's their current bottleneck and then focus on that first.
Yeah. There was a guy at the event that just sold one of his businesses for over $250 million. $250 million. And the problem he had for the group was that he's about to write a check to the IRS for $70 million. So he pockets 180. And his problem that he proposed to the group is, how do I minimize next time I sell another $250 million company? How do I keep an extra 30 million instead of paying the government a full 70 million? And what I'm saying here is that as your business grows, you'll have different types of problems, but you never get to a point where there's no problems at all. And that's something that entrepreneurs embrace, the opportunity to solve problems, because they create opportunities for not just yourself, but for other people. I mean, how many people are in your team?
Including the fitness business, and obviously I've got the sales business in Mexico, 52.
52 team members.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there you go. Like, if that doesn't get you out of bed in the morning, he's impacting the lives of 52 people. Then coaching clients, roughly?
900.
900. So close to 1,000 people. And then every one of those people have maybe kids, partners. So there's a second tier of impact. And you think about that. And then all those people have, friends, kids, etc. There's a third tier of impact. So I think help people get out of their own way, who are really just in this for like, oh, I just want to start this business to make some extra money, and why that is like a very dangerous mindset, and why you need to start thinking way bigger than just making money if you want this to actually take off.
The big thing is you need to set outrageous goals. I remember I said to Frank, our goal is by time we get to 2030, I want to have had 100,000 clients. So that's the goal, and that's the goal, to have that much impact on people at scale.
Right. And
we've been very direct and open with that. That's what we're going to achieve. I think the thing is, if you try and think small with what you're going to do, your actions are going to be small. So you need to take big actions to get big results. And I think too many people hold themselves back by, oh, I've done one Instagram post this week, that's enough. But reality, you need to do a lot.
We're over here, sweetheart. We have food being delivered right now. Okay, bring it on over, baby. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, baby. Thank you so much. Just a little quick clip. Thank you, Adriana. We got clean bowls from Chipotle here. All right, well, let's just wrap up this conversation. Maybe one more question here. What would you say your favorite, most predictable organic lead generation tactics are?
I have to be careful with this now because of my Instagram account, but previously it would have been just messaging new people follow us, or messaging story viewers. We now only message 5 people a day on my Instagram account who follow us, because it's not worth the risk to reward ratio.
You're only messaging 5 people a day,
like outbound. We just try and drive inbound traffic.
Right, got it.
But it's not worth the risk to reward for me of that going down.
How many messages were you sending a day?
500 maybe. 500.
Oh wow, yeah, that's up there. Okay, so you got your account back, which is good. Yeah. So, but there's limits. There's so you're a little more cautious on the outbound messaging. More polls.
Yes, we do a lot of polls. I was trying to drive a lot more people in to message us rather than me going directly out to them. And then we have another Instagram page which is less risky to use. We'll do more outbound on that one.
Got it. So CTAs, just maybe run through like some of the best practices. Or
so I would just make sure you have social proof on your story every day with a direct action to message you. I think is key. Every post you do on your main feed, you're going to want to have a call to action on the end of it, like whether or not it's actually even like a sales pitch. I would always have something at the end. I think that's a big mistake that many people make, is they just don't ask enough.
Yeah, you don't miss a single beat. So for those who want to see this all in action, Charlie's crushing it. He's doing some great stuff. We'll send him on over to your Instagram account. What's the best place to follow you?
So Instagram's at Charlie Johnson Fitness. You go onto YouTube, we've got a lot of content coming onto as well, which we generate a lot of leads to, which is if you just type in Charlie Johnson Fitness on there as well, that'll come up. And they've also got podcasts as well, which is theshreddershow.com. You can Google that. So
he's very prolific, maximizing organic leads. You heard it from him. Anyone could get to over 6 figures a month without paid traffic. All right, we want to be very clear on that. I won't say who, but I was just telling you before we started recording. Young female, she's doing very well, very large following. She tried to do a lot of the ad stuff, and she said it was so hard. It was so frustrating. It took me away from what I love doing, producing content. And I think it's really important to make sure that the strategies you're following are rooted in things that you enjoy doing as well. Like if it's a painful process, it's not worth it. Focus on more low-hanging fruit and assets and abilities to leverage that are right underneath your nose before making your life a living hell, which is going to take you away from things that you're actually good at. I think there's a lot of value there. And then, like you said, sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to answer Ryan's question before we go. It's like, Ryan, that's a good question as well.
All right, I'll put the question up. So a question that's coming in here is for our listeners, listening to your lives is pretty easy to see you have a vast depth of knowledge. What would you recommend to become more educated and a better coach?
So this is like the core fundamental. Like when I was skiing over the last 10 days, I was most excited to go and work out at new cool gyms.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to love what you do and be very passionate about it. Someone asked me this on Instagram the other day in terms of how much time do I spend on learning about fitness. I have no idea because I just do. I love training. I love working out. And I love everything to do with that. If you love this, it will come across as genuine, and your knowledge will become like that. Your knowledge will then just come across naturally. It won't be a sales pitch. You won't be forced trying to sell anything to anyone, and then you become infectious. People want to then work with you. Almost how I got excited to answer this question because I like the question.
Right. And I think we forget that, like, you know, you guys see me talk about business, but like, this is a classic Vince Gironda, right? I've got all of Ian King's books, right? These are the classics, guys, you know, super training. Like, I love this stuff, you know, classic Frank Zane, Brad Schonenfeld, muscular hypertrophy, Vince Gironda classics. Like, this is the stuff that got me going, you know, strength training. Mark Ripito, you know, Stronny Nabrani, Berardi, you know, this is the Bible on periodization. Like this, if you want to understand, like, if you're not passionate about learning, it's going to be really hard to transfer, you know, anything that other people are going to want to, like, oh, I want this guy. Like, people make their decisions based on, does this person really love what they do?
I'll give another good example. This week alone, trained with Mike Van Wyck, Canadian trainer who's fairly well known. So filmed some awesome content there on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. And then also this weekend I'm seeing Eric Seifert, obviously you mentioned as well, who's super, super knowledgeable. Now, these are just because I want to learn and I love doing it, but I also get to make dope content filming it at the same time. So that's very much the way I think about it. And people moan they can't make content. It's like, just do what you love doing and then film it, and then that's your content sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I'll put his handle in the Instagram account. All right, guys. Charlie, any final words? And what are you looking forward to most coming to Nashville, Tennessee? You've been there before, right?
I have.
Are you going to be wearing a hat or boots or anything?
It won't be the weather.
The weather's nice there.
It's not sunny as Dubai.
Dubai, yeah. But it's actually very hot there.
In the summer.
Yeah. It's like hot in Florida.
The most important thing that people need to think about is being consistent. Like, I saw someone post the other day in the group being like, oh, I don't post on Instagram on Saturday. I was like, do you hate money? Do you not want to sign up clients? Like, because I post every day. If you can't post, get someone else to do it for you.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. And I think in terms of Nashville, most thing I'm looking forward to is meeting some of the speakers who are going to be there and the networking, and just all you need is one idea that can come from that can change your life.
Absolutely. Well, hey guys, if you want to meet Charlie in Nashville, if you want to hang out with us and some really amazing people who are all open books and are going to help you grow your fitness business. And, we haven't been together for over 2 years. It's pretty crazy. So this is going to be a real reset for many of us. It's going to be like a new starting line. I know coming off of the 3-day event in Miami, I was hanging out with Hulk Hogan, G-Eazy. I was hanging out with Dan Marino. Like, it was insane. I just came back thinking completely differently and realized, like, again, there's so much more I can do and so much more I can be. And there's so much more I can give. These guys are some of the most generous people I've ever met. And your vision is going to be expanded. You're going to have so many new insights, so many new connections. And I'm just really pumped to hang out and for you guys to experience it for yourself. So, Charlie, thank you so much, brother.
Pleasure.
That was awesome.
Thanks.
And we'll see you guys next time. If you guys got value from this podcast, please share it on your social stories at Charlie Johnson Fitness.
Yeah, that's it.
And at Vince Del Monte. And we will likely reshare it for you. That's the fee. Pay the fee. And we'll see you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers.
Now, I hope they gave you some insight in terms of what I was doing back in the day in terms of growing my online fitness business. And I hope you've downloaded the 4C course. Now, if you haven't, and you want to be successful in fitness, this is completely free, and it's giving you my secrets that I put my blood, sweat and tears into over the last 5 to 8 years growing my business that I'm giving you free access to. So hit the link below this video to get free access to that. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next video very, very soon.